The Dark Cosmos presents 512 Days Have Passed Since the Nuclear Fallout. Written by Danny Rangel Nieto. Hey creepypasta fans, it's Teresa, and I'll be your narrator for tonight. Enjoy tonight's sci-fi horror story. Also, if you want to connect and support us, make sure to check out our Discord and Patreon links in the description. And remember, stay cosmic. I can't remember the sounds. Admittedly, my memories about the fateful day are hazy, and the fact that I've spent over a year living the same day over and over again definitely doesn't help. But I can't stop clinging to the fact that I can't remember how the end of the world sounded. You'd think that every single detail, no matter how trivial or nightmarish, would be forever embedded in my mind. After all, aren't survivors implicitly assigned the roles of narrators of their own tragedies? I lived to tell the tale, but did I? There are a few problems with that. First, I have trouble remembering the details. When I look back on the events that preceded the end of the world, I think of the 5 stages of grief flowing through our sick little planet like spilled poison. Denial was the most popular reaction, and I'd like to put those people under microscopes to study their thought processes. How could you do that? How did they manage to keep working, buying groceries, ignoring loved ones, taking unnecessary risks, and proudly exposing their jugular vein to the guillotine of fate hanging over their heads? I wonder if any of them lived enough to regret it. Anger, bargaining, and depression were quite common too, and at first sight, they looked exactly the same. Pure desperation. There were wars, as if that didn't make the threat worse. There were diplomatic meetings and protests, where everyone present in them died. There were countless cases of mass suicide. All of them were people trying to outrun the terrible and undeniable finish line ahead of us. The nuclear fallout. I was among the people that tried their hardest to lean into acceptance. I got halfway through my bucket list, said I love you to everyone that made me wish the world had turned out differently, and carefully prepared myself for the ending. There was inevitably some optimism left in the human race. So we made emergency plans, bunkers, camps, and instructions, and packed our bags, waiting for the day when the wars reached their unreasonable, yet obvious ending: catastrophic destruction. That day, I remember covering my ears, but I can't tell what the final alarm sounded like. I remember mass hysteria in the streets, people crying, pushing, and hurting each other, bloodied bodies left behind like animals on the street. But do I remember the way billions of people crying in unison sounded like? I blocked all of it, I think. I was focused on surviving and nothing else. I had my single black backpack with the only personal possessions I could take. I had my map toward my government-assigned bunker, and I had every instruction carefully practiced and memorized. I remember looking up to see planes flying in the sky. One last desperate measure, I wondered, but didn't hear them. If someone asked me for help, for directions, for guidance, did I ignore them? Maybe there was a change of plans at the very last moment, and everyone turned left instead of right, but I failed to listen. Is there a chance it's my fault that by the time the bunker's door automatically locked, I was all alone? The ground was shaking, the walls creaking, the ceiling shivering, and raining dust over my head. It lasted hours and hours until I could feel the vibrations inside my body, until I was sure I wasn't alive anymore. Was my skin burning? Or was the reason I was trembling that I was freezing to death? I didn't even know what the consequences of a nuclear fallout were supposed to be. All I knew was that I was devastatingly alone, and with no way to know when the terror would ever be over. Now it's been 392 days since I last saw planet Earth as I used to know it. I haven't seen the sky, which to be fair was a depressing gray color for the last few years. I haven't been able to dig my feet in the damp soil after the rain, bury my hands in the hot sand on the beach, or trail my finger down a tree trunk just to tickle the tips of my fingers with the petals of a familiar flower. There's a fascinating chamber on the back of the bunker where a series of plants keep me alive and breathing. I'm not supposed to, but I've been tempted many times to break through the glass, dismantle the locks, do anything in my power, even if it kills me, to at least die on natural soil. It's been longer than a year since I've seen another person, looked into human eyes, heard somebody else breathe, feel another person's heartbeat. This statement works both ways, though. There's nobody here to confirm if I am alive or dead. I could be a restless ghost, a half-alive monster, a corpse rotting while my subconscious conjures up these repetitive days over and over again. I only remember I'm alive by accident. When my thoughts spiral out of control, circling like vultures over my slowly decomposing heart that jumps back to life with a vengeance, and the ache in my chest and my ragged breath scream that I am not dead. I just wish I was. Or when I stub my toe against the foot of a table, and the shock of an interesting sensation in the middle of this dull existence is so addictive that I keep kicking the table until my toe breaks and bleeds. The metal would never break. My metal coffin will never yield. I am safe here, but I can't be so sure I'm alive. It's been 465 days, allegedly. There's an annoyingly big clock on one of the walls of the bunker that I feel mocking me minute by minute. Every day I wake up to the numbers changing, the seconds passing, their weight falling over my shoulders, the knock banging inside my head in a loop. Then I wake up and I look around me just to make sure I am still alone. The loneliness is torture, but it's also a great relief. I can't imagine what it would be like to wake up one day in this powerfully sealed cage and find someone standing right there. Standing on the side of my bunk bed, looking down at me and breathing heavily. Bleeding, burning, their skin falling off, their eyes melted down, hair all fallen off. Then I imagine they open their mouth. The black smoke and mutilated flies float out of it, and they say, oh God, what would they even say? Would they blame me? Would they accuse me of taking their place? Am I a selfish monster that survived at the expense of other people's lives? It's so much worse than this, though. Because my worst nightmares are smarter than this. My worst nightmares know that I wasn't supposed to be here alone. They know that this bunker was designed for 20 other people that never arrived. People that, for all I know, could be piled up outside the bunker's door where they clawed, kicked, screamed, and begged to be let inside. And I just did nothing to try to keep the door open. If I succeed at handling my crippling anxiety, my guilt, my terror, then it's time to get up. At least there are a few responsibilities to take care of around the bunker. Menial tasks that keep me somewhat sane. I have to check the levels of oxygen. I have to dispose of the trash through the assigned process. I have to run tests and take notes of my health because that's part of the instructions. And I have to feed myself. As much as some of this routine of being the only survivor in a post-apocalyptic bunker sometimes feels like torture, I have to keep myself alive. There are things I have to live for. I have to eventually get out of this bunker. I have to reunite with the other survivors. I still have a life to live, don't I? Well, I have to figure out if I can even get out. I have to discover if there are even other survivors out there. And I have to find the will to live despite the guilt, the trauma, and the mess in my mind. But the question remains, can I even do that? Is there even still a chance to live out there? Now it's been 512 days. 512 days of waking up in a cold sweat, trying to clear the images of apocalyptic nightmares from the forefront of my mind to get on with my day. 512 days of oxygen levels, organic waste, medical tests, and unchangeable notes. 512 days of waiting for a sign of life from outside. A final breakdown in my mental health and the ghosts of the millions of people that didn't have my luck to finally materialize and take me out of my misery. Oh, I can't take one more day. I have memorized every single inch of space inside this bunker. I slept in every bunk bed. I tried every kind of prepackaged meal. I cleaned every metallic, sterile, lifeless surface and clung desperately to every means of distraction, running through the books and movies and board games all by myself. Before the nuclear attacks, I had memorized every instruction that would keep me alive through it. But now, I'm done. We were supposed to wait inside the bunkers until a sign from the outside deemed it safe enough to go out. There are no instructions now, and I am all alone. All alone. It's time. It's time to step out of here. I prepared for weeks for this moment. I double-checked that everything about the bunker and myself was in order, and then I got everything ready to open the heavily locked doors. At first, the simple idea was so drastic, so risky that it made me dizzy and nauseous. But I pushed through, and now I'm here. The entirety of the bunker, my home for the last 1.5 years, is behind me. And I'm facing the doors to my doom, or my freedom. I asked myself again one more time, why am I doing this? And I picture a world outside just waiting for me to join. An opportunity to live again, to connect with another human being once more. And I'm filled with unspeakable joy. Any kind of thing could have gone wrong to prevent a good sign from reaching my bunker and telling me to go out. I just couldn't wait anymore. It was time to get to work. I started getting in one of the specialized suits that was left in all of the bunkers to protect the survivors from any residual risks on the surface of the Earth when we first emerged. I have no way to know if the suit will be enough to protect me, or if maybe it is thoroughly unnecessary, but it's all I have. When I am physically ready and mentally stable enough, I punch the correct code on the digital screen behind the doors. I answer a few questions for the automatic system and write one last code. Some hidden engine sparks to life with a groan, and the doors slide open noisily. The whole bunker creaks under the pressure. I have to close my eyes and lean against the wall for support. Jesus Christ. The sound of the doors, the walls shaking, the dust rising from the corner. It is just like that first day. I'm forced to relive it all over again. The panic attack is immediate. Fucking hell, my chest burns so bad. Every single fucking time. My legs are stiff, and my hands shake, and my heartbeat is so loud that it makes me want to rip my ears off. Breathe. Breathe, I tell myself. Breathe in. Hold it. Breathe out. It's okay. It's just a memory. Breathe in. Hold it again. Breathe out. Good. I repeat this mantra a few times until my legs start working. Until I'm able to take one step, put one foot in front of the other, and cross the doors. The fact that I'm still alive is a good sign. This area is not as heavily protected as the bunker itself, but I still have to climb back up to the surface. The ladder seems unnecessarily daunting, as if the people that built these bunkers didn't think we would ever get to climb out of them. This is not the grand return to the surface that they advertised in those condescending billboards and television ads. There's nothing about this that makes me feel like a hero for my species. I feel like a lab rat reluctantly climbing out of my little coffin where a higher power locked me in to see how long I could hold my breath. The answer is 512 days. I pushed open the hatch that leads out of the bunker and onto the outside. I half expect to die on the spot. it would have been a quick and merciful death, though almost comically cruel considering for how long I had to hold on and wait and hope for this moment. However, other than being temporarily blinded by natural light for the first time in almost 2 years, nothing happens at all. I let my eyes adjust to the light, and then I push upward a little higher. Now my entire head and shoulders are standing above ground level. Something that I never thought would be a luxury. Pushing myself completely out of there is not the easiest thing in the world. Part of my routine, the instructions I memorized, and the daily medical test involve staying in shape, something I pushed a little harder than necessary for the sake of having something to do. Still, there weren't that many options for exercises in the bunker. And yet my body feels unused to these out-of-the-ordinary movements. Then I finally make it. I have gotten out of the doomsday bunker. I have my own 2 feet firmly planted on the surface of the planet. I've loved, hated, grieved, and dearly missed it. And it's horrifying, to say the least. I am attacked by an onslaught of sensations and emotions. I had to make a double take. This is not the world that I left behind. At first, I can't even recognize it. I can't place myself in the street that I walked on my way here. I turn around in a circle, but my surroundings are as unfamiliar as if I were on the goddamn moon. I'm literally coming up for air after drowning for 512 days. My body instinctively gasps for fresh air, and I'm sadly reminded that I'm still stuck inside a protective suit with a reliable oxygen tank in my back. So I'm not entirely free yet. Before I break down in tears, thinking about how I'm still stuck inside the bunker in some way, I focus on something else. The sounds. It's like my ears popped. Just like breathing, the experience isn't as pure as I had expected it to be. My suit emits a constant murmur. It's my own breath. It's the supply of oxygen, like static that doesn't allow me to hear without a barrier what my poor and devastated planet sounds like. Still, this is refreshing in its own fucked up way. The breeze passing by, some trash being rustled by the wind, my own 2 feet hitting a different surface as I start to explore. It awakens something in me. Unfortunately, I don't have too much time to keep focusing on the little details of this jarring experience. By the time it registers that there's a knot in my throat, I have been crying for a while, judging by how wet my cheeks are and how much I'm struggling to breathe. The only reason I manage to calm myself is the fear that I'll run out of oxygen. The buildings have fallen. The trees have disappeared. Everything is lifeless and deformed. It's all gray and dusty and muddy and... Wait, that's not just mud. That's blood. It's fresh blood. My heartbeat picks up at the sight for so many reasons. There's another person nearby. A person that lived enough to bleed, and at this close distance from my bunker. What if they were coming for me at last? But why the hell were they bleeding in the first place? I spring into action and look around for signs of where to find them. I start running. I do find a trail to follow, but it only gets worse and worse. First, one more little puddle of blood, and next a disgustingly green pile of vomit, unlike anything I've seen before. And finally, something I'm not even capable of identifying before I hear a whine. My head snaps to my right, and I nearly fall off in surprise. There's a man on the floor, dragging himself through the rubble and dirt and coming toward me. Kill me. Kill me, please, he mumbles, and my brain can't catch up. Another human being alive. He doesn't have a helmet. His suit is different from mine. The implications of this are too much. The man is not just sick. This man is destroyed. Radiation, I think. The worst torture imaginable has fallen upon him. Kill me. I'm begging you. Kill me. I can't. The stranger continues to beg as he gets closer to me, and I notice the knife in his hand. His burnt hand. Wounded so badly that I swear I can see some of the bones. When he's close enough, I notice that his face is as bad as his hand, if not worse. He would be unrecognizable to any loved ones while still alive. And I can't think of anything more heartbreaking than that. I'm beyond disturbed by the realization that the strange lump I found on my way to him must be part of his skin, a chunk of his flesh that completely fell off. This man can't even firmly grasp the knife he's pushing toward me. If nothing intervenes, who knows how much longer he would stay in this state of utter agony. I try to convince myself this isn't real. This is not real life. This isn't the real world, and I'm not taking a knife from a dying man and slicing open his throat as a final act of mercy. A second later, I am jumping back and away from him without letting go of the knife, because the blood oozing from the wound on his neck comes along with what looks like larvae and an additional gray and slimy liquid that I'm certain isn't supposed to be inside of human bodies. I don't have time to hesitate. I have to run anywhere else. I lived all those hundreds of days in my bunker thinking I was only half alive, wishing to get out, and having no idea of what both of those things actually looked like. My dormant instincts kick in. The adrenaline rushes back to my body in full force after being useless for so long. And the challenges keep coming and coming. My next encounter is with a cat, I think. The miserable creature is even more deformed than the man I just killed. How did it survive this long? Where did it come from? I have no way to find the answers. Everything I need to know I can see in the animal's eyes and hear in its desperate whine. No, please. No, don't make me do this. I cry, while simultaneously getting down on my knees and ending this poor thing's suffering. I barely have time to think if some sick and traumatized part of me feels some twisted relief about the despicable acts I'm committing. My already horrifying experience is interrupted once again Hey, you! Who are you? A voice exclaims behind me, and this time it's a woman. She's standing up and moving, but she's limping badly, and she's so hunched over that it's a wonder she hasn't completely broken in half. She walks as fast as her corrupted body will let her, and through her coughs and bleeding mouth, she tells me, "Thank God! Finally, an angel. We took our suits too early. I can't even kill myself. I can't hold knives or rocks. Can't climb stairs. I've tried hitting myself against concrete walls, but I'm too weak. It's been days. Please help me, please." The pieces are starting to make sense. The worst part? This woman isn't alone. And the noise has awakened her company. They must have come out of a bunker nearby, and now they crawl, slither, and drag themselves out of the ruins of my hometown. And they all chant the same thing. "Kill me. Kill me. Kill me, please." I can't believe it. Jesus Christ, I can't believe that the moment of the nuclear fallout wasn't the worst part. This is unimaginable. The world should have ended. How come some of us had to live just to go outside and find a much worse hell than before? These people, these zombies, poor and infected creatures, are approaching me as fast as they can. The first woman, she bares her neck to me joyfully, and I almost don't feel bad about killing her. Not when she dies smiling. But her mysterious blood splutters on my hand, and when her body collapses at my feet, I realize the others are getting too close too quickly for my comfort. Calm down. Calm down, I tell them. And I try to reason with them. Isn't there somewhere we can go? Is there no other way for me to help you? I wonder, but none of them are listening to me. Please, there has to be another way. I can't do all this alone, I yell. I'm taking quick steps backward, too scared to turn my back to them, and when I raise my hand holding the first man's knife, I can see how badly I'm shaking. But the knife doesn't intimidate them. The knife is their only hope. I don't think my heart and my mind can bear the burden of killing 20 people like this. The moment I decide to start running away, everything takes one final turn for the worse. Something crashes against my back and takes me down to the floor.
"I said, kill me!"
Someone yelled. Someone desperate enough to throw their entire body on top of me and ruin it all. Fucking ruin everything for me and everyone else. When I'm on the floor, the knife slips off my grip, and that makes me notice my hand, where the glove of my suit is currently melting off, due to the infected blood that fell on me. No, I say like a mantra again and again as my final moments unfold in front of me. The cats and dogs reach me first, and they start gnawing on my suddenly exposed hand. The man on my back is joined by 2, 3, maybe another dozen devastated souls begging for the end. They dismiss my pleas and my tears and they slam my helmet on the floor repeatedly until it breaks, until they can get their hands on the pieces of glass that with some luck they'll be able to hold between their disintegrating fingers up to their necks to speed up their inevitable deaths. And I end up experiencing the exact same fate as the rest of them.